Hey Mayo, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Not bad. This week, let's see, Thanksgiving in the US. It's a weird year. It's 2020, as you know.
As always, the Americans have got holidays to attend to.
Yeah, yeah. I had a flight and I decided to drive because of obvious reasons. And we were talking before the podcast about what we're doing with family and everything. And for me, it's going to be a very just small, come see my kids and everything kind of thing. Not a bunch of stuff. Is like
Not the usual Thanksgiving festivities.
yeah. There's older people in the family that we usually would see this time of the year, and we're not going to get to see them unfortunately. But I want to talk to you a bit, Mayo, about my setup that I'm using right now.
Go
So,
for
so
it.
every yeah, let me know if the sound or anything needs to be adjusted because this is one of those travel weeks for me where, doing the best I can. But well, we'll get to this in a second. Let's talk about when we talk about the M1, we'll talk about my setup
All
because
right,
this
all right.
all comes from my Mac. So,
Yeah,
so
just
I'll
firstly,
let you lead us off then.
the leather sleeve. So this is the iPhone 12 accessory that they obviously showed at the October event and said was coming later, and then it got iOS support in 14.2, right? But they didn't give a date for it, and then randomly on the 20th, so like 5 days ago, which I think was the Friday, it was just a random time in the evening, and they were like, the leather sleeve's on sale. So that was pretty out of the blue. The MagSafe Duo charger is still not available yet, but the sleeve is. It's the $129 accessory, in case you forgot how much it costs,
For the
which
sleeve.
for the sleeve and for the Duo charger as well. They both cost the same in classic fashion. I think if you compare them to each other, you could probably argue the MagSafe Duo is better value for money. If you just look at the functionality of both side by side, if you extract your value comparison to anything else in the world, then they both seem to fall off a cliff a little bit in terms of value for money because the leather sleeve is literally a sleeve for the phone. You put the phone in, you take the phone out. It doesn't do anything else, and it has a little window in the front that when the phone's in it, and you tap on the little, it's got a gap where it shows the display underneath, and you can tap that, and it will put the digital time, in that little opening, and that's quite literally the functionality of the $129 level sleeve. So
So there's no battery inside. It's not a
there's
smart
no
battery case
battery.
here.
There's
Oh,
no nothing. There's no nothing. I think there's a
okay.
space for one wallet card. So if you've got a credit card or a pass, there's one space for it.
Is it strapped, doesn't it? Like a
It
dangly.
has yeah, it has like a lanyard thing. So I guess you could rack it around your arm if you,
Yeah.
I don't know, want to wave your
You,
photo all
you,
around the shop. But
you could use it as a lasso if you wanted to do that.
yeah, if you're looking at raw leather, dollar for leather, you're probably better off getting the MacBook Pro leather sleeve because that is just way bigger, and that's
So if
one hundred ninety
you
nine
wanted to
dollars.
craft if you wanted to craft your own, you wanted to just take the raw materials from Apple, and you've got the big logo on the back of it, but then craft your own sleeve. You could do that.
Yeah, I mean, for $129, buy a HomePod. Don't buy this case. That's my opinion. Uh,
Well, the HomePod Mini is what makes the price look so egregious right now because of the timing of their release. But otherwise, it's on par with like Apple accessories.
it is.
And also no one is like case shopping for their phone and they're like, should I get this or should I get the HomePod Mini to protect my phone? So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I think we mentioned this last week. If you take the price of a MagSafe charger, which is $40, and you add the price of the existing Apple Watch magnetic charging dock, that's $80. If you add those two together, that's 120, and this is 129. That's the MagSafe Duo. The sleeve, if you take the leather case, what's that, like $70, and then now you got to find $50 worth of extra value for the $129 leather sleeve.
Yeah. Uh
You haven't bought one, right? I've been
no,
knocking this thing to pieces. No,
no,
'cause
no.
I'd like to hope this is something that is outside of your warehouse, but I can never quite be sure.
No, 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 no.
Do you think
Uh
it's like if it was cheaper, would you get one? Do you think there's any appeal in it whatsoever?
I think because it's a new Apple accessory, I would be tempted to try, because I tried out the folio sleeves in the past, or like
Mm-hmm.
they're before they had like the MagSafe wallet. I've tried out like their version of a wallet, um, and lived with it for a while. And like there was one period where I was really happy with it, where I used it for quite a while. And for me, it's like the phone is my camera primarily. I just take so many pictures with it that's the core function, just like you know quick access to the camera stuff and then everything else. And so having it in a sleeve, having it in a case with a folio cover over it, even if you open it and it turns on is not ideal for me. So that's where the battery case is like the most camera centric accessory Apple's made, because not just because it's got the button for it, like the button for the shutter is great, but also it just makes your camera last longer. And if you're doing
Yeah,
video,
you get longevity out of it. Yeah.
exactly. And also it's grippier and everything. In this case, it's like it takes it further from being your super fast access camera. But if you I think it's cool that Apple did this accessory, because there's third-party versions already, always have been, and they've got their MagSafe version with their own cutout for the clock.
Yeah. Well, it also has a
did
second cutout in the kind of bit where the camera is, but I think that's cut out is for the earpiece, so you can be on the phone while it's still in the sleeve. I think that's what the point of that is. That we don't know yet, because these things haven't, although you can order them, they don't ship for like another 3 weeks or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think it's meant to be an earpiece, because the size of it's very small, and it's not where the cameras are or even where the ambient light sensor is. So I think it's just meant to be you can answer the phone and talk through it through the sleeve, which I guess is all right. But even for me, if this was like $60, like a more reasonable price, I can't be bothered with a sleeve. Just give me a proper case.
Yeah. No, I did buy an iPhone this week though.
What?
Yeah, I bought the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Oh, you got the Pro Max now? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because you obviously were living on the review units of the 12 and 12 Pro.
Right. I had 11 Pro Max before that,
Mhm.
and a colleague of mine bought that and was using that, and so there was a period there where it was like I really was living on the review phones.
Okay, now you got to tell me about the Pro Max. I wish you'd tell me this before we started the show and stop springing these surprises on me so I could do the show notes properly. All right, Pro Max, good?
Okay, Pro Max, love it. It's
Is it like the 12 Pro but bigger?
It's no. It's so funny to me to like listen. Like I mentioned last week, I've been listening to tech podcasts more again lately, just in my spare time, and it's so funny to hear people who I like Jason Snell, talk about how they are drawn to the iPhone 12 over the Pro, and that it's not even like close for them. And for me, it's like the opposite. Having review units of both phones, no cost associated with it. It was just materials and features and everything. Like
I think we can hear it right now.
Yeah.
That is the vibration motor in the iPhone 12 Pro. No.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, but for me, it's like the opposite of that. It's like there's just no, if prices were the same, because in this case it's there's no cost associated with reviewing a phone, then it's the Pro that I go for every single time. And then do that with the Max, and it's like even more so the case. Even though the Max does cost more, I ended up getting like the base storage Max, so that's what this year 128 gigabytes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm using that over a 512 gigabyte iPhone as my daily phone, because that's the loaner from Apple is 512 for a Pro, and then my Pro Max is 128, and even with that major difference in storage, the Pro Max size I'm happier with.
You just like
than having than having more storage.
Because when you have 512, you put obviously originals on your photo library, but obviously on 128 you can't do that because your photo library's huge.
Yeah. So yeah. So I've been really happy with it. The differences. I mean, it just comes down to the screen size is bigger, and like it's just really cool to have this new design of phone in that screen size, and it's even bigger than it was last year, right? Like it's went from 6.5 to 6.7 inches, so it's a little bit bigger.
Bigger screen, and then the actual difference in the chassis size is like a millimeter or something, because obviously they made the bezels slightly smaller as well.
Yeah, it's sharp. I mean, I got silver because I would have gotten the Pacific blue color for the 12 Pro Max because it's the new color this year, and I'm actually like blue a lot versus like green last year. But the silver I've been drawn to anyway because the raw stainless steel looks nice, and the white I really like. I like the way that the front of it's very very thin black bezels, but it kind of has that like black and white effect to it, like the iPhone SE does this year. The larger modern iPhone SE. But because I got, I didn't want to get blue when I've had the review units in blue and then get my main phone in blue. Otherwise I would have totally had blue just to try it out, but I've gotten to try
blue's
it.
A cool color.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. It's just I had a chance to get a different color, and that was the one I was buying, so I got silver.
What about camera differences? Noticed any of that stuff?
Yeah, that's one of those things where the reviews were so. I'm glad we got to talk about that in the reviews of other people section, because for me, I just haven't had enough time to to
Yeah.
compare, and to appreciate. To me, the difference is the viewfinder's bigger, or you've got like even the 2x versus 2.5x portrait camera, difference. Like that's so subtle. Um, and when I had the Pro non-max, I was playing around with 2.5 by doing like this slider and doing digital zoom to that to kind of get an idea of how different will this be in framing. And it's a little bit different, but it's not that different. It's very subtle. It's not
I
like the
think the
difference in
kind
like
of like takeaway from the reviews was like, all the iPhone 12s are going to take good photos. It's
yeah.
just the 12 Pro Max, because of the bigger sensor, because of slightly more zoom, more of the edge cases are covered by it, right? Without
Mhm.
like, it can be in nighttime, it can get even more light in without having to be so noisy and stuff. But if you're taking photos in daylight, any of the 12s are going to look basically identical.
Yeah. No, I do still have I have an 11 Pro non-max, which has the same cameras, right, as the 11 Pro Max had.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I own one of those still. The screen's a little bit beaten in, and this is one that that family had, and then family upgraded to mini, and now I've got my old phone back. So I've kind of got a cool lineup of phones to test. When things slow down, to have the and what I was going with there is I can look at the camera size of the 11 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, which it's like it's a big camera. It's a camera difference, at least, whether regardless of how we judge it, it has a difference. And like physically, those are all much bigger little pieces of glass than on
Yeah.
the 11 Pro. So yeah, but the main thing for me is like, I'm watching video on it and everything. It's bigger. Like it's really big. I love it, and it's not too big for me. It's like not unweldy or anything, so I'm really happy with it. And I bought a black leather case for it because I had the blue silicone case. Apple Silicon. That's the move from Intel to ARM on Mac. The move from Intel to ARM on Macs has taught me the difference in silicon and silicone for the first time. In all these years, I've never actually memorized it in the right way, where silicone is the material and silicon is like the chip,
Yeah.
And now I've got it done because I'm not going to make the mistake of saying Apple Silicone, in a Mac.
That has been the bane of my life this year. I know what the difference between the words, but I type obviously quite fast when we get a Quo report or something in.
Yeah,
I'm off
yeah.
typing, and I have automatic correction turned on macOS. So if I accidentally mistype silicon, it autocorrects to silicone every single time. So I posted probably 3 stories this year where it was like Apple Silicone, and I swear, people on Twitter love to tell you off that you put silicone and not silicone. It's like, I don't even know what the words are. I've just typed it slightly wrong, so it's autocorrected to the wrong one. But yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, so I've learned that. But yeah, I got the leather case because the review case, the loaner case, was a blue silicone case, and so we got a Max, got a leather case, and it's really cool because I got the silver and white phone with a black leather case, and I think it looks really cool. And it looks not to worry about accessorizing your phone with your watch, but I'm still using the Series 5 edition ceramic, and that's obviously white with a little bit of black accent, and they kind of go well together. So I'm liking that. But that's the main thing is like it's bigger screen and everything, very comfortable in the hand. It definitely feels bigger than even the Pro, the 11 Pro Max was, and that's also because of the shape of it. When we looked at the iPad Pro and the box off design years ago, and it's been a few years now.
Yeah, 2018 was the first.
Yeah,
iPad Pro.
we wanted a mini version of that as a phone. This is like that because it's the closest thing to like an iPad mini size. And then compared to that, like the iPhone 12 mini, which I've now got access to and like kind of play around with, that feels really small in comparison to this. But I'm positive in the 12 Pro Max being for me thing though, because like I picked up even the 12 Pro again just to like take some information off of it, and it felt like comically small, and so it's like, and that was the big phone. I mean, that was bigger than the 11 Pro last year. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
very
knew
happy
you were
with
going to get a Pro Max eventually. You were
Yeah.
going to order one until you got the review units, and then it just like made you have to
Yeah.
reconsider for a few weeks.
Yeah, it put
I
it
think Pro
off.
Max is great. Like, it's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it at all.
Yep. Now I did. I have an AT&T account, and that's where I pay for myself and a few people in my family. So it's a family. It's like a group account, and I pay for all the bills on that. And a couple of the lines are still contracted. But I started a new account with Verizon,
Ooh.
and I'll say like I tried to, and this is because I'm in an area with not just Verizon 5G, but the building where I live has UWB. and a Verizon capacity.
A rare event, but just so
Yeah,
happens to land directly on your building.
yeah. So I was like, I'll try it out. And I've been asking Verizon. I didn't push too hard, but I kind of asked like to get a SIM just to try service. And they're not going to want a service comparison or anything, but they just didn't get back to me at all. It's like nothing. And I kind of see why. The AT&T 5G in Orlando, Florida that I was using, it was like 5G was pretty, it was in a lot of places. And the speeds were clearly 5G. They weren't like 4G speeds. They were 5G speeds.
Like 120 megs or something around that range. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd see like 200 down pretty regularly.
Okay, yeah, 200, fine, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing as much 5G coverage with Verizon in Orlando. Now, because I did a little bit of a drive this week, I've seen it in different parts of the state, and it just varies. Everything varies, But it's funny. In my building though, I got to try out 5G UWB, where it says 5G UW in the carrier section.
And it better be really good speeds to be worth having UW written on your screen permanently.
Yeah, and like what did John Gruber get in his review?
He got like 2 gigs down or something, 2 gigabits.
And that was like outside in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think like average on UWB people say is like a gigabit, but the problem with UWB, the ultra wideband doesn't penetrate indoors very well, so you have to be outside to get super high speeds. Really.
Okay, so where I was trying it, there's a couple of places. So they're like Wi-Fi routers, right? Where they're you have to find the source of the UWB and be near it to get it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get above 500 down.
Oh.
Because I wanted one of those like crazy, really good examples of like
you wanted a screenshot of the 2.5.
Yeah, yeah, and I couldn't get it. I got 500 down. There's an automated.
Were you inside or outside?
I was outside, and I think the signal's inside in this case because I think it's a demonstration like that.
Okay.
But there is also there's this automated car, like it's an autonomous car that drives around in my city, and it has data check-in points where you get on the vehicle. And those have UWB stations. I think because it uploads data there, like transit data of what all it's been learning and it's driving. And that's outside. And I could find the UWB there, and I still couldn't get like a super awesome example. So I think I need to like find the source because I'm in range.
It's literally an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, but it's not impressive. Like it's not, I was with a friend of mine, or I was with a colleague, and they were like, they're very normal in terms of like technology. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to find like the edge case of like, I just want to do a good demonstration of this is what it will be one day, or could be like, and not just in theory, but in practice in this demonstration of it. And I couldn't even get that. So I was kind of disappointed. Yeah. But I will have both the AT&T coverage and the Verizon coverage. So I've been doing speed tests, and that's the kind of, it's like, then you see Verizon 5G non-UWB. And it's like, it's hand in hand, it's neck and neck. Like this, no one wins.
Yeah, they're about the same.
No one loses. So that's been interesting. So, but
all right, let's take a break and then we can talk a bit more about the M1 situation.
Yeah.
Happy Hour this week is sponsored by Amazon Alexa. You can make your smart home life easier with Sing-LED smart bulbs. Smart bulbs are all right in the old days when they came with those little infrared remote thingies, but modern bulbs are so much more convenient and genuinely useful because they connect to your smart home assistants like Amazon Alexa. If you don't have smart lighting in your home, now's the time to check it out. Not only because it's great for holiday decor, but also because right now, listeners to this show can save $10 when you buy a 2-pack of Sing-LED color-changing smart bulbs. I've been trying these out, and it's super easy to set up and pair with an Echo, like an Echo Dot. And I tell you what, speaking to the air and having your lights turn on and off in response to your voice, that just never gets old. That's just a cool experience every single time. Sing-LED smart bulbs allow you to set every possible mood with over 16 million colors. Instant decor, changeable at the touch of a button, with or without your voice. And as we're coming up to Christmas and the holidays, you can use smart bulbs to set a holiday theme for your home and perhaps synchronize that with your outdoor Christmas lighting. In fact, there's a holiday preset built right in to make your room merry and bright automatically. Use the intelligence of Alexa to set schedules, like slowly winding down the brightness at night or have them gently wake up in the morning. Set up schedules and automations remotely with the Alexa app. Smart bulbs are great, and you just can't beat being able to turn off the lights when you're settling down to go to bed or watch TV and don't want to get up off the sofa. It's solving the most first world problems, but it's just so cool. So right now, get $10 off a 2-pack of Sing-LED smart color changing light bulbs, only available at amazon.com/happyhour. This offer is available for a limited time, so now's the time to get your home set up with smart lighting. That's $10 off a single LED bulb 2-pack at amazon.com/happy hour. Amazon.com/happy hour. Thanks to Amazon Alexa for sponsoring the show.
That's a really good URL.
That is a good URL.
That's cool. Use it. Last thing I'll say on a 5G before it evolves in 3 years and it's in more places is when I get ready to finally process everything I've been testing out with the phones in the last few weeks and write it down, put it out there, and be done with it. My takeaway is going to be that I was very eager to test it and prove you wrong, and that 5G is overhyped, and I know we're in the early days, but you've got the different toggles. You've got 5G always on, 5G auto, where it intelligently decides based on how you're using your phone to preserve battery life, and then 5G off. And now that I'm getting out of review mode to just using the phone, because I never found crazy impressive 5G with it always on.
Mm-hmm.
And with auto, it's I guess that's what I'll do. But there's a little bit of temptation to just turn it off. Because it's not there yet.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I was right. Who knew?
I don't know. But I still stand on the fact that 5G the radio should be in the phones, because people will buy these expensive phones and use them for years at a time.
Yeah, I said, right, for market reasons, they have to be in the phones. Just don't go and buy an iPhone 12 because you want to get 5G. It's not going to make a big difference to your life at the moment. It's just not.
Yeah.
If you want to have an Easter egg hunt to go and find UWB in one place, go for it. But
yeah,
you know what's a much better buy and give you instant gratification? The M1 Max. Yeah. Right? They're just so good. I mean, I don't have one yet because I'm painfully waiting for the 16-inch MacBook Pro with an M chip inside it. But you've had yours for a bit now. You still loving it as much as you did?
Also very hyped. As the M1 Mac, and I've been using mine. Since we podcasted last week. We're going a little bit early this week because of the holiday, but I'm totally happy. I've done everything from go out to a rocket launch for Space Explored and use my Mac in the press line at the Air Force Base, on a Sunday night, and feel not out of place. We've streamed from the 16-inch MacBook, and it's a tank. And people comment on the fan and everything, and it just feels like it's big. It's in the way. There's a lot of things about the M1 Mac that I just really love, and that it feels as polite and not gross to use in public as an iPhone or an iPad, because you're not going to have that fan noise, or in this case, with the MacBook Air. But it also sounds like people that are using the MacBook Pro are just having a hard time triggering the fan. So in a good way. So yeah. And I've only found one time where my MacBook, the bottom rear was warm, and it felt like the fan might come on right now for a few seconds, but it cooled itself. I didn't reboot it or anything. It just eventually cooled down, and I wasn't having performance issues. And I looked at the battery section to see maybe what was causing that, and it was the Messages app. And I think that's what was warming it. It wasn't a bunch of tabs or anything. So I haven't had a moment where I'm like, man, this is rough. All I've had is moments where I'm like, this is as big to me as a change as Retina and SSD. I think it really is that big of a change in terms of just performance and how it feels to use.
And I think with a bit more time now since they've first come out and stuff, people have found little edge cases where stuff isn't working. I think some Adobe apps like Adobe Illustrator just don't work very well at all, right? They can be emulated, but they're slow still, or they chew your battery up super fast. But they're tiny fractions of the overall things that people do on their computers. For an entire architecture transition to go this well, it really has to be commended. They've done such a good job of getting the vast majority of software and apps that people use, including weird things like drivers and plugins and all this, random stuff.
So this week what I'm doing is, I'm traveling. So last week we knew that everything worked, except for having my 2-display setup became a 1-display setup. I'm okay with that. I've got more desk space now. But we mastered my at-home setup with this computer. This is a travel week, and so I left a microphone here last time I was here. I'm using an adapter because it's a USB-A microphone. That works fine. Um, we tried out the built-in webcam a little bit, and it wasn't going to be a showstopper for us this week. I thought I was comfortable with it. The lighting, I
Yeah,
think,
look good.
as the lighting in here goes down, I think it would have gotten worse. And there's like a porch and an awning outside of the windows, so that would have made it worse. But otherwise, like, I think it'd been okay, especially with like proper lighting in front of me. And then what's even cooler is I took today as 10 minutes before we started recording as the opportunity to try to do this app.
Camo, is it?
Camo, yeah, Camo. To use Camo because I have a tripod because I've been shooting photos on a tripod with cameras and the iPhone. I have a Joby adapter to put the iPhone on a tripod, and I just had everything I needed. So I'm like, let's try this and use this. So this is coming from the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Okay.
Yeah. And you've got a bunch of different in that app on the Mac. It gives you a bunch of options for like what camera you use and what resolution and everything. And it can use different cameras, but I was using like the default stuff where it's like 720p and the main camera, not one of the other cameras. So yeah, and it's like my Mac's fine. I'm doing a lot.
It's silent, right?
Yeah, I mean it can't be anything but silent.
Yeah, and it's not warm. It's just sitting there like.
Let me feel the. No, it's not on my lap. It's on like a book, but it's not like the front end of it is just totally cool. There's nothing there at all. It's the back middle that has some warmth to it, but nothing like what the 16-inch MacBook I
mean,
used before. Like
this is going to make me envious every single week now until I finally get a new one, because my fans go every single time we record. I can feel the heat just by like, I don't even, I don't have to like think about it. It's just right there. And I hear the fans while we're talking about you recording from your completely silent computer. I can just hear my fans going, "Whoa."
Yeah. We're getting questions about like, is it worth spending a couple extra $100 on one more core on the GPU, because the base model is 7 cores on the GPU, and you can spend $200 and have 8 cores on the GPU. And we've discussed in plenty why that's the case. But and then also the RAM. So one thing that kind of concerns me is that if you go into an Apple store, I think you're only going to get an 8 gigabyte M1 Mac.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're stocking any 16 gigabyte models in the store.
Yeah, both the base configs, it's just the only difference is the core, because on the cheapest one you get the 256 gig one, and then you get the highest storage option, but the RAM's identical. They're the configs they sell in the stores.
And I would guess that most people buy I guess that it's very common that people buy a boxed version in a store, whether it's the Apple Store or Best Buy or whatever retailer. And so 8 gigabyte models are going to be very popular. And also, if you buy online, you probably don't. It's probably less common to go up and add things, spec it out, and make it more expensive than it is to just get the base model. And so I think there's going to be a lot of 8 gigabyte models in the wild. And so I'm glad I've got one to try out, and I'm using it. I can't say I've never had a situation where I've got a lot going on and it's slow, but it's Pixelmator. It's just Pixelmator with an image with a bunch of layers, and that's using memory. Yeah. And I can close that, and then I've still got Safari with 30 tabs, and it's fine. And so I'm finding that like the only thing now that I'm having to kind of babysit is, do I have Pixelmator Pro open or not?
Yeah, and that's nothing against like the app. It's just, you got a big canvas and it has to have a lot of stuff in memory to be able to do its job. Like,
right. Yeah.
That's the situation.
Yeah.
And because there is definitely this, I've seen a few different people say like, you can't just look at RAM numbers on these M1 Macs and compare them to the Intel ones. I don't think that's very true. Like, the M1 Macs are so fast, they paper over issues you get when you have to like swap to disk and stuff. Like, but it's still going to happen, and the amount of RAM the applications use is about the same as what they do on an Intel architecture.
Yeah, well, because the delta between 8 and 16 is so big that it's not like if we're talking like 4 and 8, then it's closer. Yeah, exactly. Or 2 and 4, like, but 8 and 16 is a pretty big delta.
Like, I think 8's perfectly fine for the 90% MacBook Air usage, right? Because most people buy MacBook Airs. Like, the only reason we're even talking about, like, imagine say, oh, I'm going to do Pixelmator Pro on the MacBook Air from last year. Like, you wouldn't even bother, right? You'd have a 16-inch, because the only reason it even comes up is because the Air's so fast that you can even attempt it, right? Like, most people buy Airs to surf the web, to do Twitter, to do email, and to do some, office work, right? For that situations, all you need is 8 gigabytes of RAM. if
Yeah.
you are going to do more professional workflows, whether it's Xcode or big photo editing or big video editing, then yeah, 16 gigs and then maybe like 32 and 64 down the line, right? Like, but you can't say that it doesn't matter how much RAM's in the machine because it's an M1 Mac now, like RAM's irrelevant. That's just not true. Like,
Yeah. And there was a
ideally,
period.
they'd all be 16.
Yeah. Whenever the MacBook Air got redesigned to be Retina and have its current design it has now, and it had a fan in
Mm-hmm.
it, TweetDeck was very bad on it. And the fan would come on if you had TweetDeck open. And TweetDeck updated and it never happened again. It was great. And there's chatter that Pixelmator could be improved for M1, and that could still happen. So I'm not ruling out that the app itself gets better, because that was like the one source of my Mac feels a little bit like a 12-inch MacBook right now. Something's stressing it out. What can I go and fix? And that was it. It was Pixelmator. So maybe there's some optimizations there to be had.
Yeah, we'll see. They're a good team. They do a lot of updates. So if
Yeah,
there
they
are
do.
like performance improvements, I'm sure they'll get to it. But
Battery life, I am not disappointed. Man, this was like one of the biggest reasons to upgrade, because if you ask me what do I get on my 16-inch, I'd say about 5 hours. And that's been the case, and since I've been using laptops for 9 to 5 Mac since 2013, about 5 hours battery life, sometimes 4, sometimes 6, but usually 5. I'm not sure what the number is right now. It's just really high. It's like, I used to always charge when I got in the rad like 5% or so.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would actually use it until it's dead and then have to like wait a second for it to come back up. Now I'm charging it when it's at 20% because I know it's going to take a little while to charge. And, like it's just what I do with the iPad too. So I do with the iPhone, 20%, charge it back up. I'm doing that now. I used to have concerns about leaving the Mac open for leisure, like just for like watching a video or something, watching even like, a TV show on the Mac. I wouldn't do it on my notebook because it's like with the iPad, it's not going to drain the battery, but with the Mac, it's gonna kind of hit it. I don't have that feeling anymore. It's like the MacBook Air is just sitting there on my living room table, open, screen on, TweetDeck flowing, and I don't feel like it's gonna die when I go, leave the room and come back.
Yeah,
And it's crazy. It's really
it's
good.
so good. It's so good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, so like RAM, get 16 if you can. 7-core versus 8-core GPU doesn't matter. Like
I think that it's that if you should know your needs and talk to somebody about it before you make the decision if you're curious. But I'm putting some faith in the fact that I've got the base model machine and I'm living fine with it, and that you've got the return period, so the holiday return period.
I don't think almost anyone will notice if they got a 7-core and 8-core GPU. Just like how the
fair.
A12Z added an extra GPU core compared to the A12X, and you can't notice on the iPad either. Like,
yeah, it feels like an iPad, but it runs macOS and it's not touch. So if you're really happy with using your iPad and a keyboard and you don't use the screen that much, you use the cursor on the the trackpad and everything, then it feels like that. But you've got multitasking in the way that you have macOS. I love it. It's really good. So
talking to macOS.
Mm-hmm.
Big Sur has been out for a little while. We haven't. You've been obviously running the beta over the summer. I basically just waited until the release to go for it. I just want to give you some quick impressions on like stuff I like and don't. I think visual design is fine. Like, I think they did far better than they did for the iOS 7 transition because that was, on iOS, that was like a disaster and incredibly rushed. Big Sur is mostly there. I think some of the icon, like the biggest thing you can probably like, weasel over is some of the icons. And like if you go into the utilities folder, you can definitely find icons that have been incredibly rushed together incredibly quickly and don't have much forethought into them. But the main like app icon set that Apple provides, I think they mostly look pretty good. In terms of like the general Big Sur design, I'm happy with it. It took a few days to get accustomed to. The toolbars are probably slightly too big. Like they just are. Each of the icons are just slightly too big, but I'm getting used to it. I do kind of feel like I've lost like a tenth of my screen real estate now just for bigger toolbar icons.
I really did lose screen real estate because I went from 16 to 13. And that's when I'm like, this is kind of big. but it's also, it feels like it's very tiny too, because I ran Big Sur all summer on the 16-inch. I know. And when I use a display, external display doesn't matter. It's like the display is the display. But it does feel like very micro to me. But it's all relative.
Yeah, like, and I like how they've got the iOS 14 style widgets in the sidebar and stuff, and they've updated the notifications so they're actually modern and grouped together and stuff. And I would prefer if I could put the sidebar widgets just on the actual Finder home screen. Like, I still annoys me that they're stuck off to the little side menu. If you could just like put them on your desktop, I'd probably like that more. Because on macOS, for whatever reason, I never really open the notification center tray stuff like you do on iOS. And on iOS, you can put your widgets directly on your home screen. But on Mac, they're just stuck on the little side column that I find goes out of sight and out of mind.
I do a hot corner in the top right corner of the Mac display to open Notification Center. And prior to Big Sur, there was a button you had to click to go between notifications and the Today view, which had widgets.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's
all in one.
It's all in one. You get a few alerts and you get some widgets, and it's kind of split, not really halfway, but I think they show a little bit more widgets than Notification Center. If you use 0 widgets, though, you don't get full height Notification Center. I think you should. I wish that was customizable. I love that it's unified now. That's way better. It was horrible before, and now it's really good. And I do use Notification Center a lot on the Mac. Slack alerts come in, I go look at them there, get a pretty good handle on it, messages, email, because I've got that hot corner. The gesture, like you can do 2 fingers on the trackpad and pull it over, but that's never stuck with me. The hot corner really sticks with me. The widgets, I love that in most cases, like if you've got the widgets are the same widgets from iOS. So they are Swift UI widgets?
Yep. It's literally the same code running.
So they're coded, yeah. So if I've got a widget scenario like on the iPhone, then I can put that on the Mac as well, and it's like the same layout and everything looks the same way. I love that. If there's an iOS app that you run on your M1 Mac, you can, even if the app is like wonky, and that's an area where it's hit or miss as to what the quality is like, but the widget is the widget, and the widget's good. So I found that like I've got some iOS apps on my Mac just for the widget. And it's the iOS widget, It's like
they're nice widgets. Like the iOS 14 widgets are so pretty.
Yeah. There is that weird thing where the alerts, when they come in, like you've got to click and press or, with a little button. Yeah. No one likes that. And I'm glad people are talking about it because it needs to be improved. So,
yeah. Do you remember like a couple of years ago on iOS when they removed the flip camera button from like the main screen of FaceTime?
Yeah. That was one of the big features.
And everyone hated it for like 2 months. Everyone said it was stupid. Everyone agreed it was stupid. And they finally fixed it in like iOS 12.2.1 or something. Yeah. I reckon they're going to do that for notifications as well, because everyone hates you having to click like 2 more buttons now just to see your options for how to reply to like I get a message notification on Catalina. There's just a reply button on the bubble of the notification. You click that, you type, you're done. Yeah. On Big Sur, the notification comes in, then you have to hover over it, click like the options button, and then say show all, which then reveals the text field that you can type in. Like, it's just way too many steps for like the simplest operation.
Right. Yeah. I love Control Center. Do you remember years ago there was a leak that seems to be real because everything else in the image was right, but it was like Control Center in the Mac and it was like on the left side.
Oh yeah.
Well, we finally have Control Center in the Mac, and it's nothing like that, of course, because that was with the old design.
Yeah, that was like probably 5 years ago now.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I like the way Control Center is used on the Mac right now. You can't. I guess there's some level of like customization that you can't do on the phone too, and this is that area. I hope we see some stuff added here though, because there's opportunity to have like I would want the Shazam button up there, like you can do on the phone now. That'd be a cool thing.
Yeah, the iOS Control Center has a lot more buttons than the Mac one.
Yeah, so and it's cool. Like there are things that are not intuitive, but being able to like drag things out and stick them to the menu bar, that's neat. You can figure it out in the system preferences of like how you actually do it manually without doing it the shortcut way. But yeah, I think that's an area of opportunity in the future is if they can add those buttons of like actions, because that's kind of a cool thing that you
there's
don't
a
have
couple
right now.
If you go into system preferences, there's a couple you can turn on. Not loads, but like, for instance, accessibility. You can have a button for accessibility to show up in the Control Center on Mac, which you can do on iOS as well. But on the Mac version, there's not enough buttons to fill the whole row. Yeah. So you can only have like a maximum of 3 buttons there, and they just sit at the bottom, which is... So I had to turn them all off because I couldn't fill the row. Yeah. And I'd love to be able to remove keyboard brightness from the Control Center, because if you click on it, keyboard brightness is just stuck there on the right hand side, and you can't get rid of it. But I just love to be able to replace it with something else. I don't know, like get it out my sight. I don't care about my keyboard brightness.
Let's see, on the iPhone, you can have widgets on the home screen, which is not a desktop. It's different than a desktop.
Mm-hmm.
On an iPad,
you can't.
You've got your launcher, but you can have some stick and landscape orientation.
Yeah, they're on that little sidebar bit
from last year. Yeah. There's no way to make any widgets stick on macOS, even if you've got a 32-inch 6K display.
Honestly, I'd love an option on Finder for Mac where you can have the sidebar, like the notifications area with the widgets, just permanently visible.
Maybe put stuff over it.
Right,
like,
yeah. So
you
like
wouldn't want to pin it on
the
top.
Same layer as the desktop. So you'd have your icons here, then you have a divider, then you have all your widgets and your notifications.
That'd be cool because I also have a hot corner, which is an old feature that you can turn on in preferences and like screensaver to map out actions to corners, put your cursor in the corner to show desktop. So bottom right always show desktop because otherwise it's like a finger gesture that's not intuitive or a keyboard shortcut that's not intuitive. So, I work with files on my desktop a lot. I put my cursor in the bottom right corner, all the windows fly away. That would mean that the widgets would be there visible. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Because especially like not so much on my 15-inch MacBook Pro, but when I connect it up to my 26-inch display, there's a lot of space that I basically have an empty desktop. I'd love to be able to put the widgets permanently visible there and not have to like toggle them visible and toggle them away every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so notifications are the little, and the getting to the actions. That's the probably top two of the stupidest thing in Big Sur. The other stupid thing, I really wish they'd bring back the modal animation, the sheet thing where it would like, envelope out of the middle of the screen instead of this like, oh, it's faded in the center. Like I hate the modal fade in. It's so annoying, and it just sits on the center of the window and it's not attached to the top of the window. It drives me crazy. Hate it. I'm sure other people think it's fine. It really annoys me. I think the old animation was way nicer, and the new animation seems to lag more. Like the old animation was almost 3D because it would like swoop in and down. The new animation doesn't do that. It just sticks in the middle of the window. It's like this dumb fade effect, and I hate it.
Yeah, you need a new Mac.
Maybe on the M1 Max at least the animation's better, but the old animation was better. And then the other thing that's kind of stupid is in Safari, you used to be able to get a new tab open. At the very end of the tab bar, there'd be a plus button. For whatever reason, the plus button got removed, and now it's in the top toolbar, which still, I've been using it for like a week and a half. My muscle memory still can't go to the right place there. And I complained about this on Twitter. Everyone's like, just press Command T, Command T, Command T, new tab. Yes, I do press Command T when I'm using the keyboard on my Mac. But a lot of the time when I'm just browsing Safari, I'm doing it casually. I'm just using my mouse only. I'm like sitting back, just, dragging around my trackpad or using my mouse. I press new tab. It comes up with the start page. I click YouTube. I press new tab. I click Twitter. I press, Swift Forums, whatever else I'm reading. I don't want to have to go to the keyboard just to get this button back that was always there. So that's that's probably the more esoteric complaint compared to the general populace. But notification menu options are so annoying, and everyone agrees on that one. So that one definitely be fixed. The animation modal thing that matches iOS, but I think they kind of lost a lot of character there. So I wouldn't expect that one to change. New tab buttons probably also a casualty of history, and I'll eventually get used to it. But notification buttons by far are the biggest thing that annoy me the most, and I'm pretty sure they'll bring it back. But to be honest, only having 3 total complaints for the biggest like visual redesign to macOS in a long time, I'd say that's pretty good going, because most of it, some of it I think's fine, some of it's about the same, some of it's better. So on the whole, I think only having like 3 true complaints about the thing, I think they did a good job. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can you explain the plus button on Safari one more time though? Because I think I get what you're saying.
Right.
But
so
yeah.
Safari 13. Okay, you've got
which is not just Big Sur; it's also on.
Yeah, it happens on the previous version as well.
Yeah.
But obviously it's related to Big Sur because Big Sur only comes with Safari 14. The Safari window. Okay, you have the URL bar at the top. Then below that, you've got your tabs. Yeah, you got your string of 3 tabs. Let's say on the very right of where the tabs were, there was a little tab that looked like a plus button. And you click that, and it will make a new tab. So right in line with all the tabs, you press the little button, and it makes a new tab. Okay. On Big Sur / Safari 14, that little button doesn't exist anymore. You have to go all the way back to the top toolbar to press the plus button. And so where you've got these where you got your toolbar, your bar of tabs, right? oh, you can close the tabs because there's the close button, and you used to be able to just add a new one on the end, but you can't do that anymore. You have to move your mouse all the way to the very top of the screen to the plus button that's by default not even like on the right hand side of the toolbar row. It's really annoying.
Okay.
Like the plus button is there, but it's in a completely different place. It's like, and it's like putting it in the place where it's most convenient, and they've been like, no, we're going to put it in somewhere that's less convenient. That's why it's annoying.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
Not as bad as when they messed up the Mail toolbar.
Correct. Yeah, the Mayo toolbar was way worse. Yeah. Yeah, like iOS 13 had like 4 things that were really bad with it. iOS 12 had the FaceTime thing that was really bad with it. Big Sur, notification menu options terrible. Everything else I can live with. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of the icons I think look way better. Like, I kind of do miss the organic nature of app icons having all different shapes and stuff. But Apple's done a good job modernizing their icon set, I believe. The only thing I'm slightly worried about there is how long is it going to take like third-party apps to actually update all their icons as well.
I'm pretty pleased with that's another thing is like, so I did the Big Sur beta all summer, and now I've got like, you know, Things and Fantastical. They're updated for Big Sur, including their icon set. 1Password's the same way. So a bunch of the third-party utilities that I use are updated with their app icons and features and everything, and that's new since release, not in the beta period. So that's nice. The apps that are not updated are like some apps just have like too big of an icon. They were already a round rec, but they're too big or too small or like, you know, just ugly. I think it's always going to be the case. If it's still a circle, then that's not too bad. I think it kind of fits in okay. And circle icons are pretty popular for a while.
Yeah, they're pretty common. Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with that. The thing that drives me nuts is like, I think Final Cut Pro icon looks really good. I love when they take something about it and they jump off of the shape of the round rack.
Yeah, like you're still doing a round rec design, but you've got those little like, accents that pop off in different ways.
Yeah, those look really good. GarageBand, I like the way that looks. I think it's too bad that like Numbers, Keynote, and Pages, I think they look fine, but we saw better versions of those in the Keynote that wasn't released. Same thing for Launchpad. It's just, but iMovie is like the most egregious offender in this case, where it's like the old icon on a white background, and it's like shrunken.
I know. I thought Apple had got away from that because they were. I swear, every new iOS icon Apple was doing wasn't white backgrounding, and they're learning.
We talk about this a lot in terms of just our tastes, and usually it just comes down to taste, and that's just a preference. But in this case, it looks like a bug because it's the same icon as before. It's just shrunken down.
Yeah,
and it looks like they just forgot to like actually put in the right one. So
yeah, and they did the right thing with music this year, right? Because now music's nice red and bold instead of the white background thing. But no, iMovie is just, and I feel like there's an obvious thing they could do. They could make it look like the Hollywood sign, right? Yeah. So you'd have like the red background.
Didn't they do? I mean, it looks better than that on iOS.
Yeah, iOS is like a purple gradient type thing. I'm pretty sure if you go back to like skeuomorphic days, iMovie and iOS did do the Hollywood sign type effect. So it was like red, and then it was like engraved into the floor, basically. So if they could do something like that on the Mac, where you'd have like the Hollywood sign, like the stars they print in the floor where those celebrities are. You'd do like that, and then you'd have the iMovie logo as the thing in the middle.
On the release notes for the app updates, GarageBand would say like updated for Big Sur UI. Final Cut would say that. Logic would say that. iMovie was updated for Big Sur, but it didn't say for UI. So I wonder if there's a visual update coming, and this is really like a placeholder. That'd be interesting. I'd feel vindicated if that was the case.
So yeah, Big Sur, mostly good. I was a bit worried throughout the summer, I was worried about like the bugginess because loads of people complain about like bugs and stuff, but it shipped and it seems to be in a pretty decent state, to be honest. Yeah.
All right,
let's take a break. Happy Hour this week is sponsored by ExpressVPN. There's this documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. It's about how social media companies work to exploit your data to make money. They call it surveillance capitalism. Normally when you buy something, you can just see the transaction. That's the purchase. But social media companies hide all that. It's the classic adage, if you haven't paid for it, you are the product. Use ExpressVPN to put an extra layer of protection around your data. When you use the internet, big tech companies mine your data at every opportunity, tracking searches, messages, video history, the lot. Incognito mode can't help you, but ExpressVPN can. Enable ExpressVPN and it will hide your real IP address from the websites that you visit. That means these sites can't use your IP address to personally identify you and makes your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. You still need to be careful with what you share on social media, but ExpressVPN can make your web browsing more anonymous. It also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from prying eyes whilst the data is in transit. And many VPNs slow down your own internet speed, but not ExpressVPN. It's incredibly fast and easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected. That's all it takes. One click and ExpressVPN is active, and it runs seamlessly in the background. So if you don't like the idea of tech companies exploiting your personal information, then visit expressvpn.com/happyhour right now, and you can get an extra 3 months for ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/happyhour to protect your data. expressvpn.com. Go there to find out more.
All right, thanks, ExpressVPN. So let's talk about Ming-Chi Kuo, as we mentioned earlier in the show. He had a fun report today about I love redesign stuff. It's one of my favorite iPhone 12 features that is a redesign. It's one of my favorite Big Sur features that is a redesign. He has the slightest rumors about redesigned products. It's like a light switch. It's like yes or no. Not
yeah, it's like just enough that we can think about it, and that's
it's nothing about the actual nothing about the actual design at all. It says yes or no redesign, and there's a couple of products where he says yes on for redesign.
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of his like analyst report just before he takes his Thanksgiving holiday, because he whipped out this report. He basically said that the iPhone 12 demand is tracking ahead of expectations for iPhone 12 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that's going to offset slightly weakness in sales for the iPhone 12 and the 12 mini. So just in terms of initial reception, Kuo believes that the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max are getting, better reception by customers, and the normal 12 and the 12 mini aren't so much. So if you're one of those people who think like the 12 mini is going to set the world on fire, maybe not so true. But that's just analyst expectations on different products. That's basically like product mix, right? Because I think Kuo was expecting the normal 12 and the mini to be more popular because of the lower price, but it turns out they're slightly less popular, in COVID world or whatever. But people are instead opting for the more expensive models to get slightly nicer features and whatnot. In terms of the product categories, Kuo suggests that there are going to be form factor redesigns coming to Apple Watch and MacBooks in 2021. As far as the iPad's concerned, he basically says that demand for the new iPad Air, so that's the one that looks like the iPad Pro, has been very strong. And continuing the mini LED rumors for as long as AirTags have been rumored, I guess, at this point, in 2021, he says that the iPad's lineup will add mini LED displays and 5G connectivity for the cellular models, which I think everyone expected, right?
Sure, yeah.
There's been a lot of smoke that maybe the mini LED models would have launched in 2020, but then, production delays happened because of the pandemic and everything, so it just got pushed off into next year. But we can expect iPad Pros with mini LED displays soon. Basically, the next iPad Pro update will probably have a mini LED display whenever the next iPad Pro update happens.
And mini LED is on the roadmap for Macs, right? So separate from today's report, but from Kuo from ages ago.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Presumably, he doesn't say this in this report, but presumably the redesigned form factor Macs will feature mini LED displays.
The reason I say that is if you're a Mac person, because the iPad Pro, like I'm in a good place with the iPad Air where I'm a Mac person who enjoys iPads. Mm-hmm. And so the iPad Air does that for me. Having mini LED is like, oh, that's enticing. But I think that's great for the people that are like, the iPad is what the Mac is to me. And so that's for them, but it's not going to be left out from the Mac. It'll also come to the Mac.
Yes.
Cool. Nice.
Just to dig a bit deeper into the very tiny nuggets of information we have about these redesigns, for the Apple Watch specifically, Kuo says customer response and sales for Series 6 and Apple Watch SE have been very strong, and he expects that demand to continue next year with, quote, innovative health management functions, very precise, very exact, loads of detail in that, and improved form factor design. Quote, improved form factor design. So
that means it's like half as thick.
That doesn't sound like they're going to look completely different, but they are going to be different in chassis. So maybe thinness is like an axis, right? Like
maybe, yeah.
And
I was joking. I have no idea, but yeah.
I mean, I like how the current watches look, right? I have no problem with how they look. If they could be slightly thinner, I'd be happy with that. Like I do think they are slightly thick, especially when you have like long shirts on and stuff. They pop up slightly from your arm. But
You've always felt that way, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but mate, it's going to be an improved form factor. So now we can be even more happy about it.
I can't wait for the innovative health management features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the ARM Macs, Kuo says that sales of the M1 Macs have been better than expected, and he reiterates his previous reports that Apple introduced new Apple Silicon Macs with an all-new form factor and industrial design in the second half of 2021.
Can you wait that long?
I guess I'll have to. Right. I've had this computer since 2016. I bought it the day the 2016 MacBook Pros came out. I can't give up now. I've waited this long. Right, I had my opportunity to migrate when the 16-inch MacBook Pro came out in 2019, and I didn't jump then. It wasn't impressive enough for me to do it. And now the M1 Air is so fast, I'm not buying the 16-inch MacBook Pro now because I might as well buy an Air, right? Like, I've just got to hold out. I've just got to see what they can do in the M1 lineup.
You're so close.
And just imagine what they'll be able to transpose that into with a slightly bigger chassis and, actual fans and, more space for bigger GPU and stuff, and I'll be really thrilled. But I guess it's going to be June, September. Like it's going to be we've got a good 8 months at least, right? Like if it's second half of 2021. But I can't give up. Like I'd have wasted. Why did I bother waiting 4 years if I can't wait another 8 months? You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
It's a serious exercise in control. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting to see what Apple says about the DTK policy, right? Maybe I'll pick up a Mac Mini or something.
The developer transition kit, what do you do with that? Because it's a lease that you paid for. And as far as you know, you just send it back. No money is exchanged.
Correct.
You paid for the lease. The lease is over now. But with the PowerPC to Intel transition, there was a perk at the end, which was
I believe with the PowerPC transition, you got a developer kit that basically looked like the old Mac Pro in the back, so like the Power Macs they used to call it. And when you traded it in, you got the base level iMac. But and I think you actually got your money back as well.
Oh.
So I think you got a Mac for free and you got your money back. I might be wrong about the money back part. I think it might have been you can either have your money back or you get the iMac. I think that's what it was. I wasn't in the world in those days, but it was something like that. Yeah. But the current situation with the DTK, the contract that I signed, and look, if they just want it back at the end of the day, okay, fine. But I'm hoping what they're going to say is, look, as an incentive to actually return these things, here's a nice little voucher towards a Mac Mini, right? Like, because I paid $500 for the transition kit. The Mac Mini is like $600. If they said you can get a Mac Mini for $100, I'll just change it out, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, I signed the contract that means I just give it back to them, and I've had my 6 months of use out of it, right, for $500. So if that's the case, I'm not going to be salty about it. That's just the reality. But I'm not going to buy a Mac Mini now on just in case they have this nice little present for us in December.
I think this was, but you are so okay. So one of the equations is like if price is no option, the Mac Mini, like there is a Mac and that would. You could say if price is not a problem, then there's still a tool that wouldn't fit your needs. And so you're saying that the Mac Mini actually would fit some needs, like it'd be beneficial to you.
Yeah,
you could use it. Yeah.
I can,
especially if price is almost off the table.
Right. Yeah, I can use a Mac Mini for like Plex at home. I could do photo storage on it. I could actually do some build and I'm saving the Mac Mini for one of those days when I just really want to do something techie, and Yeah,
because I don't have a need for it, but
I mean, obviously, I
wanted the previous one. I never bought it.
Yeah, like I could use it, right? Like, and it'd be cool to have. But I don't. I mean, I could do we could podcast off the Mac Mini, for instance, right? Like, so instead of me having to worry about the fans being really loud and annoying me, and I could podcast off the Mac Mini, for instance. I can't do my like day-to-day programming work on the Mac Mini really, but I could podcast on it, so I could use it, right? But we'll see.
You could do M1 commentary and
exactly.
Mac Mini.
I could pay $500 for the Mac Mini to satiate my desire for another 8 months until I get the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the best GPU, CPU, and everything else you've ever seen. That's what I'm hoping for. And a mini LED display. And you might as well throw a Face ID chip, a sensor in there for the camera, and a 120 hertz ProMotion display. Like, I've been waiting 5 years. You better deliver, mate. You better
So
deliver.
I was thinking about this too before the podcast, and obviously the M1 Max are in no way redesigned, in terms of how they look or touchscreen and any of that. But Face ID, camera resolution, none of that. But the only thing that I'm really bummed about is no cellular yet, because I would
Hmm.
I would do that. I would definitely buy the cellular model of a Mac and pay for it, pay for the plan.
Yeah,
Because
and if you had a 5G MacBook, you might actually use
mhm,
the 5G for something useful.
yeah,
Like, I'm serious, right? On a
I
phone,
know,
you're
I
never
know,
gonna. If you have 1.5 GB 5G, what are you gonna do with it? Nothing. On a
have
Mac, you
fun.
could actually do stuff with it.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, let's take our last ad break of the show.
sure,
Roborock, new sponsor. Roborock is
cool.
offering happy hour listeners a special 40% off its popular S6 Pure Robot Vacuum and Mop for Black Friday. Designed to offer users a completely customizable cleaning solution, the S6 Pure mops and sweeps on your command via the companion iOS app or just by yelling at Siri. It makes use of a wide array of intelligent sensors and a LiDAR navigation system. That means the Roborock S6 Pure offers up a more intelligent cleaning system than your average robot vacuum that you can find on Amazon. Using LiDAR, the S6 Pure intelligently maps out each room in your home, even spanning multiple floors, allows you to name each space in the app, and then command the S6 Pure to go and clean specific zones. This can be done from within the app or with your voice using Siri shortcuts or compatible Alexa devices. The Roborock S6 Pure's 2,000 pascals of suction power can easily lift dust from floors and will automatically adjust to full power when cleaning thicker carpets. A series of dew-point bristles and an integrated 5,200 mAh battery with up to 3 hours of runtime allow the machine to sweep up larger homes without issue. You can customize it to work great with a variety of floor types, and it's rated to cover up to 1,610 square feet in one cleaning session, with a water tank as well for the mop. So if you want an automated vacuum in your life, head to the show notes to get the Roborock S6 Pure now for $359. That's 40% off its usual $599 price. Roborock S6 Pure, $359. Link in the show notes.
Thank you, Roborock. I'm a big fan of robot utilities like this, so that's awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about News Plus.
All right, News Plus.
Specifically, News Plus Audio.
News Plus is that's an Apple feature that you only get if you are in the Apple One bundle, right? When you bundle your Apple Music with your iCloud, then you just happen to also get News Plus. Otherwise, there's no way to get it
That's not
outside
true.
of.
You can
No,
buy News Plus on its own.
just nobody does. It's
You
the
bought
thing.
News Plus on its own.
Off and on, but not really.
Yeah, but you did.
Yeah, but I've bought and never canceled like every other Apple service, but News Plus isn't one of this.
Yeah, like so most people realistically
And now
nowadays.
and now it's perpetual because of Apple.
Yeah, nowadays people are just gonna get it when they get Premiere, right? Like
Yeah.
that's it's supposed to be like around. People aren't gonna pay on its for it on its own.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little perk in your Premiere bundle. It's alright.
We're here to talk about a feature that was introduced months ago
Months ago.
that I'm only using now because of Apple One. So
Yes, and specifically the News Plus audio stories. So
yeah,
normal News Plus is like some scanned magazines and PDFs. But they are now making like every single week they're narrating content from News Plus using professional voiceover artists to record the news so that you can listen to them when you're commuting through CarPlay, whatever you want to do. Now, these are all in English, but
sometimes even from England with English accents from
so
English
literally
publications.
English people, British people speaking the stories, but still as of now, News Plus Audio is not available in the UK. It remains a US exclusive feature. I think it's really cool. I'd love to use it, but I can't.
Yeah.
However, you can.
Mm-hmm. I've
You
been
think it's
using it. I do. I've been using it in the car through CarPlay when I drive, and there's nothing music-wise I want to listen to, and podcast-wise, I'm not quite sure what to play next, and I don't have an audiobook to listen to at the moment, and so it's like, oh, there's this news icon on CarPlay. Let me tap that and then dig through there, and it's really kind of cool. Like it's the duration of each story. You can find some stuff that's just a few minutes. Most stuff's like 20 minutes or so. And I've also just found that the magazine stories that I wasn't actually reading before, their headlines often, which is what I find distasteful and not something I want to absorb, have nothing to do with the actual like 20 minutes of what's read to you. It's
Right.
like
Okay.
this headline was written for Twitter and this story was written for a magazine.
Yeah.
And so that's like a lesson. I learned that about magazine stories through News Plus Audio, but it's really cool. I also found through enjoying it the limitations, which is it's only on the iPhone, and so that's CarPlay too because it's a CarPlay app, but it comes from the iPhone. If I want to take that same thing to the Mac, you can't, and it's because the News app on the Mac is the iPad app, and there's not News Plus Audio on the iPad either. So, and that's and I kind of get it's like it makes sense if you describe it as like magazines are best read on a larger display, so that's the iPad. And like anything looks good on a big Mac display because it's bigger than even the iPad in most cases. But on the phone, that's where those same stories are less ideal. And so audio is the best factor. It's just that we usually don't have to have those trade-offs of what's best is only available where it is best, and
Yeah,
so
I mean, you listen to podcasts on the Mac and the iPad happily, right? That's why there's a
yeah,
podcast app on the
yeah,
iPad and the Mac. And
yeah,
what News Plus Audio Stories are is they're premium podcast episodes at the end of the
hmm
day, really. That's what they
yeah,
are. And
yeah,
so, yes, obviously, they should put the News Plus tab, audio tab on the Mac and the iPad as well.
yeah.
It's just,
So that's just one thing about it that I was like, and it's kind of a plus. It's that I liked it that much that I wanted it to be in those other places, and before I
yeah.
didn't even realize it was not in those places.
Yeah, because they have really, again, I've only seen screenshots, but they have nice integration. Like if you're halfway
Yeah,
through a story listening to it, you can then look back at the story and it will show you where you are in the article if you want to carry on reading it. And similarly, if
yeah,
you read it and you scroll, you can then say listen from this point and it'll actually pick up from where you are. Like they have the interplay back and forth. So like if you're on a car drive, you've got a 20-minute story, you do a 10-minute drive, and then if you're waiting in the queue in the shop, you can then read the rest of it. Like it's a
mhm,
really nice integration back and forth,
yeah.
but not just available on most of Apple's devices or in most countries.
Yeah, I've learned things from News Plus Audio stories being read to me. So I like it, and it's also stuff because there's not like an infinite amount of these stories read and recorded and read. There's it's kind of like when Apple TV Plus first launched. Like you try out things because they were there, not because
hmm
they interest you. And so because it's not everything in news, then I'm finding things that I wouldn't click otherwise and
There's
listen
probably
to.
like a curation aspect to it as well, where
Sure,
Apple's only paying for good stories to be
sure,
narrated, right? So you almost
yeah,
get like a quality filter just by doing that.
yeah, yeah.
And
So.
in 14.3, there's some new UI for like the better discovery of stuff. So they have like a dedicated channel. So like if you find like a publisher in news, and it just has like that magazine layout, they have one of those now dedicated just to audio stories, so that you can
Mhm.
even get better like discovery of those things.
Cool. Yeah, it's a
It's
good.
nice.
If you pay for Apple News, Plus, and you haven't tried out this feature for the audio stories, check it out. And if you pay for, is it only in Premiere? Is the $30 a month plan
Yeah, you can buy
for
it
Apple
separately.
One?
Obviously, News Plus on its own, but it's only News Plus is only in
Yeah,
Premiere. Yeah.
only in Premiere. Yeah. So then in that case, go check it out because you're not spending any extra money on it,
And
and
do you
it's
listen
actually kind of
to
cool.
the Apple News Today thing, the news update thing? No.
No, I have tried it, and I think it's a good quality podcast, and the back and forth there is very very nice between the two hosts. They're distinctive. You can it's good to have two distinctive voices on a podcast, like one with an American accent and one with a British accent, for example, because you know who's speaking.
That'd be a good
And
idea
that
for a podcast.
Yeah, that would be good. And on that podcast, it's male and female, and that's a distinction, and it's really good. But
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 you just
but
don't,
but
you just know it's
but
not your
this
groove.
but this so with News Plus Audio, those stories, it's not what's been trending on Twitter and
It's
like
not current
breaking
affairs.
and
Yeah.
developing. Yeah, so it's stuff I wouldn't see otherwise. And on the Apple News Today podcast stuff, it's stuff that I definitely could have reported. Like I could write that script too.
Yeah. Because I can actually access the News Today, Apple News Today, because it's also available in Apple Podcasts, just worldwide. So I have tried
Yeah,
listening to it. It's fine, but it's so American, like news stories, and it's basically all about politics. Like that's what I
sure.
found.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just haven't been able to attach to it on a daily basis. Like I listen to
yeah.
it occasionally, but
Mhm.
if they did like a UK version, if they had like UK hosts doing UK stories, I'd probably listen to it. Like
Mhm.
But as it stands, I think it's a good production. But yeah, I'd love to actually have like the, just the non-fiction narration stories available to me. So hopefully they
Yeah,
roll it out soon.
it'll happen for you
Just
one
like
day.
Apple Pay Cash.
Or
That'll
I
happen.
was iTunes Radio. What was
Oh
that
yeah,
before?
iTunes Radio. Yeah,
It was
that was
slated to
so
come.
weird. You United States and Australia and nowhere else. That was
Yeah,
iTunes Radio.
until
That's
Apple
funny.
Music came. But yeah. All right,
All right.
and then yeah, last thing this week is we've got the Apple Holiday ad, and I am ashamed to say I haven't seen it yet. So ask me what I think about it.
What do you think about it?
I don't, and I look at it on my phone, but it's right there. Use it as my camera, so I'll have to
I can
watch it and
basically
let
just
you know.
describe it. It's
Sure.
it's the rapper Tierra Whack, who I hadn't heard of before the advert. That's
Okay.
her name.
Okay. Yes.
And she goes into a room. She's dancing about, having fun, and then she talks to a big HomePod to play some
Okay.
music. Okay.
Okay.
And then she slams the HomePod and it goes small. And out of the
Okay.
small HomePod comes a mini version of her. And they like have
Huh.
a dance back and forth and stuff. So the whole ad is just one person, obviously using CGI to like show them in different
Sure.
forms, right?
Yeah.
I immediately thought this is great for like their COVID production protocols because you only
It's
need a
just
cast
one.
of one. There's social distancing all over the place.
Yeah.
Because normally Apple's like holiday ads, they have them like dancing through the street and doing
We
like
discussed that. Like, how do you do a family in this? Yeah.
yeah, and so they just didn't. So this almost feels like a follow-on to the original HomePod ad. Do you remember the HomePod ad with the walls, where the walls
Yes,
would
the
move around?
award-winning HomePod ad. Yes, I do.
It feels much like that,
Okay.
much like that. And
And
basically the ad, yeah,
is this is the holiday ad for 2020? Like
correct.
they do one every year. Okay, then we usually gush over it. So it's interesting that with all the new products, the iPhone, well, Max, iPhone, iPad, Watch, all those things, they pick HomePod Mini as the one, or HomePod in general as the one to push in the ad. But also, $99 HomePod Mini is a pretty good gift. Like if you're just like, I don't know what to get this person, don't want to spend too much, it's like HomePod Mini, pretty good way to go.
Yeah, basically the motto of the ad is the magic of Mini. That's where they're going. That's where
Cool.
they're going with it. I mean, I think it's a fine ad. It's definitely not going to be a memorable one in the history of Apple holiday ads, if you know what I mean. But I think they're probably a lot limited by the current environment, so they did what they could with what they had.
Yeah, cool, nice HomePod Mini. I'm still enjoying mine, and I think I'm gonna go for a third because I've been breaking them up. I've been doing stereo pair and then like putting one because they're so small. I traveled with them. I put them in my backpack like two. Can you imagine putting two HomePods in a backpack like the big ones? Like a bag of bricks. But the small ones are that easy. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go for a third one. So
And just as like a PSA, obviously Apple's
yeah.
running its holiday Black Friday deals from Friday through Monday.
Uh-huh.
As usual, it's giving
Okay.
away gift cards with purchases. There's no promotion for a HomePod Mini. You can just buy it outright and get nothing for it.
Yeah.
If you get the big HomePod, you get a $100 gift card.
So it's almost like a $200 HomePod, which Best Buy probably would actually sell you
Yes, that is the motto with the Apple Holiday Black Fridays.
every
Basically,
year.
you can get between $25 and $150 gift card depending on what you buy. But obviously, the $150 gift card is only available if you buy like the MacBook Pro 16-inch, which is like $3,000. How much how very expensive that is. Most stuff that you'd want to buy is like a $25 or a $50 gift card. And the reality is, just go to a different retailer and you'll be able to buy the exact same product for probably twice as cheap, and it's actually money, not a gift card.
Like if you buy the 6-inch MacBook for that much money, they should give you like a rain check, like for the M1 or M whatever.
Yeah, I think students get a better deal when they get like free AirPods and stuff because like if you the iPhone 12 is excluded, by the way, so you only get a $50 gift card with the iPhone 11, iPhone 10R, or iPhone SE. So if you want the 12, there's no gift card. Which is kind of, they've done this in previous years, but that's the situation.
Yeah, cool. All right, and between now and next week, what do we have? We don't know when MagSafe Duo will come out yet. It's been listed on Apple's website. It's been announced at an event. It's the price is $130, but you've got to buy the adapter, which costs $20 to get the right way to power it. So it's really $150 if you look at it that way. And I'm gonna buy that.
If you look at it that way, you should say the HomePod's only $70.
Yeah. That is not a good purchase, but I'm gonna buy it. that's one of the things that I will buy to because it's like a nicety.
It
It's
is cool.
ridiculously it's absorbently priced. It's got a ridiculous price tag on it. It's different enough. So like MagSafe and MagSafe Duo, it isn't like this is one and this is the other. Like MagSafe, as I've been using it, it's like the charging puck that you put your phone on to charge, or you use it to use your phone in bed while wirelessly charging because it clips to the back of it and it isn't like having to hold up a wireless charging pad. It's really convenient. Um, MagSafe Duo, I don't think I'd ever pick it up and use it while it's charging something, even if the watch isn't on it. Even though it
Right,
folds and
yeah.
everything, like it's more of like a deep. So it's different in that regard. It's almost like less practical, except for the watch side of it. But because it is like I am drawn into the book style folded design, has the watch puck that goes up and down, and it looks nice as one cord. And I have
It's
no
kind of
need for
cool. I
I have
quite
no need for it, and I will totally buy it as soon as it comes out.
And the other thing I'm looking out for is Fitness Plus, right? So
Yeah, and so that's going to be we expect iOS 14.3 to come out sometime between now and the end of the year, and for that to include Fitness Plus, which will be an update for the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, I assume, and Apple TV. And
mhm.
so I should get an Apple TV between now and Fitness Plus for that
Do you not
reason.
have an Apple TV at the moment?
I didn't move with one, so
Okay.
I had one. I didn't move with one.
That's the other thing, but as well as the laptop situation, I've also been clinging on to my 2015 non 4K Apple TVs. The 4K part doesn't actually matter because we still don't have a 4K like living room TV, but
Okay.
I just really want to come with an Apple TV update as well.
Yeah, that's tough. And they don't go on sale really, like even
No,
third party
they just kind
retailers.
of they're
And,
just so
and that was
expensive.
I've been looking at like Facebook Marketplace to see like what is somebody selling it just to get rid of it for. It's not cheap, like
I know
because
they
they got
keep their value. They're so expensive and overpriced for what they
yeah
are, but they keep
yeah
their value.
yeah.
It's
Well, I don't know if
insane.
they sell that. I don't know if people are actually buying them though, but
Well, people try and sell them because I've looked for
yeah.
secondhand ones as well, but they
Uh-huh.
definitely the best deal I ever got an Apple TV was the $1 one I got as an Apple
Dollar as a
developer.
developer, yeah. Did you ever make an Apple TV app?
No, I did actually.
Uh,
I did do ideas and explore some stuff. I was going to do like
yeah,
Bingo Machine on the TV, but
yeah.
unfortunately, the Apple TV market isn't very
It
conducive to applications that aren't video apps or games. So
right.
it
Which
kind of
which
fell apart.
which wasn't what Apple had wanted in those dollar Apple TV days. So yeah.
Right? Yeah.
All right, cool. That's the happy hour podcast for this week. If you have any feedback for the show, you can email us together at happyhour@9to5mac.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ApolloZac. That's APOLLOZAC. Benjamin, you're on Twitter at,
BZA Mayo.
and we will be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.